There are two cop killers out there.
We can get these guys.
This week on At the Movies with Ebert and Roeper, Keanu Reeves and Forrest Whitaker are street kings.
You feel more like a man now, do you?
Jude Law, Rachel Weisz, and Natalie Portman share My Blueberry Nights.
Everyone in my life is going crazy.
And Dennis Quaid, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Ellen Page are smart people.
I know you want my scalp nailed to your wall. But then who's gonna go where the law won't? You, Captain? You? You gonna clean up the needles and baby parts? No. You need me.
Keanu Reeves is a cop on the edge of dying from an overdose of cliches in Street Kings. I'm Richard Roeper.
And I'm Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune. From crime novelist James Ellroy, author of L.A. Confidential, comes this story of modern-day L.A. cops taking out the trash. Street Kings stars Keanu Reeves as Detective Tom Ludlow, an alcoholic widower working within a shadowy division of the LAPD. After a vicious run-in with some Korean-American child rapists, never enough of that kind of stuff with James Ellroy. Ludlow and his fellow officers celebrate with their captain. He's played by Forrest Whitaker.
You know, I owe you one, Tom. That Park Twins caper, that gave me the edge. You know, the chief, he's breaking tradition by promoting me here. The first commander's slot always goes to the head of internal affairs. That's the way it is.
That's because they got so much dirt on everyone.
That's right. And they're always looking for more, huh?
Soon, Ludlow's ex-partner, who doesn't like the way things are being run in the department, gets killed by a couple of hardened thugs. The killing's caught on tape, and Ludlow could be implicated in the murder.
It's not what it looks like. It's not.
That's all there is, Tom. What it looks like. What everybody sees. You know that.
Lud, anybody in the department sees this video, you're no longer a cop. Do you understand that?
Eventually, amid a lot of carnage and the kind of tough guy dialogue only Ellroy could have co-written, Ludlow and his new partner, played by Chris Evans, home in on the criminals behind the cop killing.
Is there any square cops out there? Or is everybody out for theirs?
Everyone's out for theirs. Way of the world.
Dude, cops are like weeds. You pull one out, two more grow back.
Now, much as I like Ellroy's overripe brand of dialogue and a couple of the violent set pieces, Street Kings gets more and more ridiculous and less involving. The director, David Ayer, keeps things at a pitch even hysterics might describe as hysterical. And I gotta say, this thing is pretty racist. The whole film's built on one scene after another of avenging white angels wailing on LA's multicultural vermin. Everybody supporting the star of this film is pretty good, including Cedric the Entertainer, Common, and TV's House, Hugh Laurie, as an internal affairs honcho on Ludlow's trail, which brings us to Keanu Reeves. I don't know, does it sound like he would be credible as a borderline psychotic wreck with a badge? Not for me. In the end, you can file this one under L.A. inconsequential, please.
Yeah. It's a terrible movie, despite the the resumes of a lot of people involved here, Michael. I guess that's what makes it so memorably bad when you see great actors like Forrest Whitaker just hamming it up in a bad performance, really. And I don't know if anybody could have rescued the material. Keanu Reeves is miscast. It's an ugly story. It's the kind of story where everyone's like, well, people are different degrees of corrupt,
right? And
that just gets old. We've seen it in so many better movies than this. It's really it's kind of a dirty, scummy piece of work, really.
Yeah, it would make Harry Callahan and Popeye Doyle sort of decide, well, what have I been doing with my life? I've done it all wrong. This guy's the dirt. He should be inspired. Here's the thing, too. This director, David Ayer, and a screenwriter, he's written Training Day, which is certainly better than this. Although he's really into the melodrama, and he did a better version of this kind of picture, Harsh Times, with Christian Bale as a cop, sort of like falling apart. And there, at least, he had some moral complications and kind of interesting dramatic setups, and here it is just simply a guy who really, in a different light, is a total psycho who we're supposed to be rooting for, so not for me.
No, it's a bad movie. It's a terrible film. Okay, next up, Chaos Theory. Now, just weeks after Ryan Reynolds appeared in Definitely Maybe, playing an adorable little girl's father who tells the story of his early romantic years in flashback, he's now playing an adorable little girl's father who tells the story of his early romantic years in flashback. Definitely Maybe was definitely the better movie. Here Reynolds plays Frank, a time efficiency expert married to Emily Mortimer's Susan. Stuart Townsend plays his best buddy, the conveniently named Buddy.
She gets all over me about my schedule. She sets the clocks forward to give me more time, only she gives me less time, and I end up missing the ferry. Now, do you have any idea how embarrassing it is to show up late to a lecture on the efficient use of time?
Through a series of mix-ups that are part slapstick and part daytime soap opera, Frank has to prove to his wife that he's not the father of a mystery baby. The test yields results that throw Frank's entire life into question. It's meltdown time.
Is anyone here truly happy? If so, raise your happy hand. And the decisions that you've made in your life are crap. You're a crappy person, leading a crappy life. Crappy, crappy, crappy.
No.
Yeah, crappy.
Chaos Theory lives up, or maybe down to its title, as this film is all over the place. We get some Ben Stiller-ish comedy bits involving a drunken floozy, mixing uneasily with poundingly heavy dramatic scenes. The pacing feels forced and off-key throughout. There's one moment when Frank is processing devastating news, and the camera's on him for so long that I half expected Reynolds to break character and yell, "Cut!" Reynolds tries hard to rescue this material, but the Townsend and Mortimer characters are one-dimensional, not all that interesting. And the framing device, with Frank telling this sordid and messy backstory to a young man about to marry his daughter, it's just ridiculous.
You know what? Against all odds, this movie actually worked for me, you know, so I would give it a mild recommendation. This thing does start out on this odd, farcical premise about, like, you know, he's taking a pregnant woman to the hospital, and somehow his name ends up on the form, and he's the father.
Because he puts it there, and he fills out the stuff, which makes no sense.
Okay, then the wife realizes, well, you know, what's going on is, did he father the child? Okay, starts out that way. Then somehow, miraculously, this film actually got me through to this shift in tone where you're actually taking some of this stuff seriously. So
How could you possibly take it seriously?
No, well, seriously enough, let's say, okay? And I do think, I think all the characters are at least working outside the usual kind of rom-com formula. I don't know. I'm not even a Ryan Reynolds fan, and I would say mild recommendation for me.
That's amazing to me. It's maybe not romantic comedy formula, but it's The Guiding Light or All My Children. I mean, I don't want to give away.
I've never seen those shows.
Well, I mean, you don't have to. I mean, I don't want to give away the big twist here, but I mean, it's really something straight out of bad soap opera writing. And then the characters, all they have to do is pick up the phone and talk, but instead everybody has to keep operating under these, you know, mistaken impressions. And the phone rings and the woman picks up the, you know, that whole hotel scene plays like nothing that would ever happen in even a movie world. None of it rings true.
Okay, so suddenly you're into plausibility. That's interesting.
I'm into within the constraints of the film plausibility.
Okay, here's the other thing. I think what's driving you nuts about the length of some of these takes I actually like, because in a way the director, cinematographer actually let things play out. The actors actually get a chance to interact a little bit.
Oh, please.
I don't know. I thought, truly, on style points and some of the acting and some of the character writing, I'd go for it.
Scene after scene just goes like that. Terrible film.
It's sad how you can be so wrong.
Okay, it's a bad movie. Later in the show, Ellen Page is back in high school, but this time she's a young Republican in Smart People.
I'm in an after-school special.
And next, what a cast. Jude Law, Nora Jones, Rachel Weisz, and Natalie Portman star in My Blueberry Nights.
I forgot to tip the waitress.
Those belonged to a young couple. They were naive enough to believe that they were going to spend the rest of their lives together.
Well, what happened?
Life happened. Things happened. Yeah, time happened. It's pretty much always the case, more or less.
Last year, the latest picture from Hong Kong master Wong Kar-wai opened the Cannes Film Festival. Now, a streamlined version of this film, My Blueberry Nights, has arrived in theaters. In the director's first film in English, Nora Jones, yes, the singer Nora Jones, plays a broken-hearted New Yorker who, in this scene, befriends a cafe owner played by Jude Law.
So what's wrong with the blueberry pie?
There's nothing wrong with the blueberry pie. It's just people make other choices. You can't blame the blueberry pie. It's just no one wants it.
Wait! I want a piece.
With ice cream.
Jones then sets off on a journey across America in search of herself and an acting coach. The film's third section takes place in what appears to be Reno, where the Jones character meets up with a gambling rambler played by Natalie Portman.
You can be cheap or you can be lucky, but you can't be both. Not in the long run. Here you go, Toots. That is from Mr. Aloha over there. He's gonna pay me back. He didn't know it yet.
Now, you notice how all the dialogue sounds just a little bit off in that scene. The whole film sounds like that, even with such terrific actors as Rachel Weisz and David Strathairn. Visually, every slow-motion flourish and artfully composed splash of neon comes off here as pure mannerism. This was certainly not the case with Wong Kar-wai's previous work, which includes the gorgeous 2046, well worth seeing, as well as earlier, looser projects like Chungking Express. It breaks my heart to think of this good-looking stiff keeping anyone from discovering the marvels to be experienced in this director's best work, which does not include My Blueberry Nights. So skip this one.
I'm with you, Michael. You know, there were some shots early on here so mannered and so gorgeous and self-conscious that you wanted to throw something at the screen because they draw such attention to themselves. I think there's a lot of miscasting going on here. Rachel Weisz, wrong for that part. Natalie Portman,
No, they cannot,
lost in
they
her
cannot
role.
make this material their own.
The camera loves Norah Jones's face, but she's got a long way to go as an actress, that's for sure. And to tackle something like this where she's the centerpiece of the film, I think was a mistake
It's a little like, I don't know, you ever saw Antonione's only film in English, Zabriskie Point? This is the same kind of like...
a little more obscure with some of these references?
Hey, Antonioni, another major director,
Zabriskie
Pally.
Point, yeah, I know,
but it falls apart and just sort of like calcifies right on the screen, just like that.
I'll make another reference for you. Robert Altman would do stories like this where you have these episodic things, but if it's really well done, it's involving and interesting. Here we're getting, one vignette after another, and none of them are too interesting, and it's kind of maddening in the slow pace. And you're right, everything feels a little bit off, from the music to the acting to the dialogue.
It's been trimmed 15. It's been trimmed 15 minutes since Cannes. To no good effect.
My Blue Night instead of my Blueberry Nights, and maybe then.
Okay, coming up next, Dennis Quaid finds love with a former student played by Sarah Jessica Parker in Smart People.
But first, here's a classic review from atthemoviestv.com where you can watch more than 20 years of movie reviews. Of course they're doing a James. You know what? If I want to see a comedy based on the James Bond movies, I'll go see Goldmember again. I want to see...
This is not a comedy. This is a Bond
it better
movie.
be a comedy because you can't take any of this seriously, even as a fun action thriller.
You can't take a Bond picture
That
seriously.
Avalanche is so ridiculous.
Vanessa, you think I'm self-absorbed?
I think self-absorption's underrated.
I don't think you're very happy.
Well, you're not happy, and you're my role model.
Dennis Quaid is a surly professor, and Juno's Ellen Page is his young Republican daughter in the predictable but consistently enjoyable Smart People. Quaid's Lawrence is a widower who seems to have shut down even perfunctory efforts to be a polite, decent member of society. Whether he's taking up 2 parking spaces, going through the motions in class, or dealing with his son and daughter, he's a jerk. Quaid perfectly captures a certain type of gracelessly aging academic who's brilliant but socially inept.
I would like an explanation. Why are you here?
Vanessa said that you couldn't drive for 6 months, so I'm here to help. I can't really afford to get my own apartment, so it's kind of a win-win situation.
No, it's not a win-win situation. It might be, if you were even vaguely reliable.
That's Thomas Hayden Church with a brave choice in facial hair and a ton of slacker charisma as Lawrence's brother Chuck. Sarah Jessica Parker has some nice moments as a former student of Lawrence's who's now a doctor and still has a little bit of a crush on him.
Okay, well, if you need anything, just have one of the nurses page me. I'm here all night. Okay?
Now just go home and get some sleep and you'll get that perfect SAT score.
That's what I've been trying to do.
Ellen Page's Vanessa is a hyper-achieving student who lives for her father's acceptance and resents the hell out of his new girlfriend.
What a generous portion. Enjoy.
Well, Vanessa here's the perfect little housewife. I mean, daughter.
Oh, well, yes. If by perfect you mean not retarded / suffering from insurmountable credit card debt, then yes, I'm indeed perfect.
With its acerbic tone and its knowledge of the academic's life, Smart People reminded me of Wonder Boys and The Squid and the Whale. Screenwriter Mark Jude Poirier and director Noah Murrow have created a funny, sometimes painfully spot-on, dysfunctional family drama. Quaid gives one of his best performances in years. Church owns every scene he's in, and I don't know how you can't love Ellen Page. The final act of Smart People was a bit too conventional for my taste, but this is a good and, yes, smart film.
Yeah, I cannot recommend
No,
that.
he's saying.
I think you're okay. Predictable, but what? The acting is enough to compensate for you? Is that
Well,
what you're
I mean, there's good writing here. I mean, it's predictable. You kind of see where things are going to go.
You're right. Schematic.
I mean, let's put it this way, not to give too much away here, Michael, but if the Dennis Quaid character remains a complete jerk throughout the movie, you don't have a movie. So
but then you got a true portrait. But then you have a true portrait of an academic.
Well, maybe so. Maybe so. I mean, certain things are going to happen. Yeah. It's the journey that makes it enjoyable if it's well done, and yes, well written, and yes, satisfying, because there's certain things we want to happen and we get to see them happen. And all of that is enjoyable for smart people.
Okay, good. Good. I'm glad you endorsed the picture. But look, Quaid for me does not feel like anybody's idea of a bone-weary academic at all. I just think I think this kind of role is outside his sweet spot for sure.
I don't think so.
And I do think I think not. And did you honestly believe the way this part is written that Ellen Page is a young Republican? I mean, she's getting high with the 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 step uncle, and it just none of this behavior seems.
You know what? I think a lot of Republicans party just as hard as liberals, and it's fun to see a film. First of all, say yes, she is conservative, but she's got this side that she's going to tap into.
Didn't believe it. Loved. Would have enjoyed that complexity.
Good film, good acting, nice smart script.
Okay. Always reviewing the movies that didn't quite get made. Senior Citizens, socking out rock songs. What is this, another Rolling Stones film? No, it's a deeply satisfying new documentary called Young at Heart, which is both very funny and practically guaranteed to pull the heartstrings clean out of your heart. British documentary filmmaker Stephen Walker captures the run-up to the annual show put on by the group known as Young at Heart. No Andrews Sisters stuff for this crew, based in Northampton, Massachusetts. Working under musical director Bob Silman, they sing everything from The Clash to Sonic Youth to the Ramones' I Want to Be Sedated, along with this James Brown classic.
I feel good.
Nice.
Nice. I'm sorry.
Nice.
Let me do it.
There's a perfect ow, and you can come in anytime you want. So it goes. Do your ow again one more time.
Me the ow.
Ow. You know what? This is going to be excellent.
Now, Silman's no softie, a bit of a jerk, in fact, but the film introduces us to an amazing variety of personalities, including 92-year-old Eileen Hall.
Let's go into your bedroom, shall we? Can we do that? Oh, should we cut there?
Sure. What an invitation.
Oh, gosh, I'd like to go.
Here I've got, what, 3, 4 men?
Now, you do wish the film's director, who also narrates, wasn't always butting in with delicate questions about somebody's health. By the end, though, Young at Heart has let us in on the lives of a wonderful group of people connected by a love of music. This is a charming picture, and you want golden oldies? These folks are the real golden oldies. This is my favorite movie on this week's show, in fact.
Yeah, and Michael, I think you can't help but ask questions about health because it's a dominant issue for many members of this amazing, wonderful, fantastic group. I love this film. I love this film. And yeah, maybe the musical director isn't the cuddliest guy out there, but that's good because it's not one of these condescending, oh, look at the cute old people type of movies, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't treat them with that. He treats them just like he would any other group that he's trying to whip into shape for the concert.
Right.
And that's probably one of the reasons why they're so good. And I think they respect that as well.
I think
Michael.
Silman does not condescend, although he's tough on him. I think the filmmaker slightly, there's a sort of patronization going on a little bit with the sort of the British look at the adorable American old people. But these people are so vivid as personalities, and you really do care about these health issues.
And you do care about the health issues. And the moment then when the big concert and you get Fix You, a Coldplay song, and such a beautiful rendition of it, but also because we know the story leading up to how that became a solo number. I mean, it's just like, how could you not be moved by this? It's good stuff.
It works.
Really good stuff.
It works.
All right, coming up next, the DVD of Juno is bulging with some great extras in our video segment. But first, here's a look at some of the movies we'll be reviewing over the next few weeks.
Did I blow up my car? Oh, did I fire bullets at myself?
It's genius, isn't it?
What are you doing here?
Came here to murder you.
Kate, I want you to put your baby inside me. I want to put my baby inside you.
I don't feel good. Well, Bianca could help you. You know, she has nurses training.
Looking at movies new on DVD, I can't recommend Lars and the Real Girl or The Music Within, but I really enjoyed Jeff Garland's I Want Someone to Eat Cheese With, and I loved Juno. It's coming out in a 2-disc edition, a bunch of fun extras, deleted scenes, bloopers, and it's got one of the better gag reels I've ever seen.
Arrested Development.
It was all cue cards. And Mark.
Of course, everybody celebrated Ellen Page's Oscar-nominated role in this film, but I also love Jason Bateman and Jennifer Garner, among others.
And Olivia Thirlby.
Yes,
right?
star of the
Very
future,
good.
star of the present.
Okay, too many people missed this next one in the theaters. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead is director Sidney Lumet's disarming black comedy about two brothers, played by Phillips Seymour Hoffman and Ethan Hawke, who hatch a scheme to rob their own parents' jewelry store.
I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can. Oh, yeah, you can. yeah, you can.
Lumet's film starts with an incredible bang, first with this sex scene between Hoffman and Marissa Tomei, which gives way to some intriguing pillow talk, setting up the plot, then with that wonderfully staged, botched robbery. The rest of the film has a hard time living up to it, but it's well worth your time, and the cast includes Albert Finney, Rosemary Harris, more good actors than you can count on two good hands.
Michael, I feel like this is a film that's definitely going to get new life on DVD and well-deserved.
Yeah, it'll age well, too.
Good pick. Okay, so Juno and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead will be in stores on Tuesday, and we'll be back with my picks for 3 to see, the best 3 movies in theaters, right after this.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is sponsored by
Now it's time for 3 to see, my picks for 3 of the best recent releases in theaters. At number 3, I have 21, the stylish blackjack movie with a great villainous performance by Kevin Spacey and maybe the year's best soundtrack to date. At number 2, Stop Loss, which is in danger of falling off the radar, and that's a real shame because this is a powerful story of friendship with Channing Tatum and Ryan Phillips doing excellent work. And maybe the best movie playing at theaters right now is Young at Heart. If this movie doesn't move you, you better check your own pulse. You might be dead.
Richard, I know you're all heart, but I had no idea you had a pulse at all, so that's great to hear.
I'm
Good.
all heart and 2 kneecaps. Okay, that's it for this week. Until next week, the balcony is closed.
It's Tour de French Toast at IHOP. 4 of our famously phenomenal French toasts, topped, swirled, and stuffed with goodness. IHOP. Come hungry, leave happy.
We know your dirty little secret, your mop. Get to know the cleaner way to clean with the Libman Wonder Mop. The mop head is machine washable, only from Libman.
Oh boy, smelly shoes. No smell?
Odor Eaters destroys odor, absorbs wetness. Odor Eaters insoles powder and spray.
Net Zero gives you the fastest surfing available over dial-up and virus protection, starting at $9.95. Try it risk-free for 30 days with our money-back guarantee.